Good evening. It's totally me again. Man, this is gonna be a total separate thing, but like this chapter in class is just actually, man. There's so much in here. It's actually just like, man. It's a lot. There's actually a lot of really good info in here about addiction therapy, but this chapter is about the effects of addiction on the body, what it does to the body, what it does to the brain, to the mind. There's some really, really bad stuff that actually comes with it. And I see, my whole life, I didn't focus on the practical. When I was growing up, I understood what they were saying in church. I understood that. And I believed it to the fullest degree within myself, that so much so that I cared nothing for the world. I knew that there was always forgiveness for sin. So I totally didn't. I lived like a damn heathen. Yeah. And then some. Destroying myself. Trying to die. Trying to see as much as this body could take without possibly overdoing it. You know what I mean? Like, it was bad. It was really, really self-destructive. I see, just out of my trauma, trying to cover it up and trying to hide from it, trying to run from just shame and guilt and just pain and fear, just trying to keep an image that wasn't even worth keeping. It did so much damage, not just to myself and being self-destructive, but that destruction reflected outward of me. Because I was destructive inside, I destroyed everything outside over and over and over and freaking over again. And then some. Like, seriously. And I'm not perfect. I hope to be one day. Just because that's the Libra freaking tendencies in me, that just like I strive for perfection, but knowing I will never ever be perfect. That I'm always going to fall short. That burns me to no end. But enough about me. Like, I don't know, I always like to give some pretext to, like, it's always an opportunity to share some experience and just like, man, I get it. I really do. I know where a lot of people are coming from, and unfortunately some people are coming from worse places, and for that, man, my heart goes out to everybody. I know this world is suffering, but there's also great beauty in it. We have to choose to see it. Seriously, we have to choose to see it. This one's not going to be biblical, but though I might get in, as the Father sees to beam stuff down into me, I will totally share it if, it's appropriate. 333. This is going to be on like substance abuse and substance disorders. So the first thing on here is it's a quote from Carl Jung. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter where the neurotic. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol or morphine or idealism. Carl Gustav Jung. Or Jung. I don't know, it's Jung. Dang Germans. Oh, Gustav. I wonder where Carl Jung was from. I haven't actually gotten into any of his biographies, but it's going to be another day. Substance use disorder. You probably know someone who has been affected by drugs, directly or indirectly. The most commonly used legal and illegal drugs in the U.S. are alcohol and marijuana. Everybody's more readily available to smoke a joint than they are to smoke crack, right? Or to put a needle in their arm. Everybody is willing to take a hit off a joint. Everybody tries a cigarette. Well, not, I guess not everybody, but most do. You know what I mean? We all try stupid things, man, and sometimes we just don't get it from the cough and everything else that our body doesn't need it. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're a little bit more strong-willed and thick-headed. Straight up, yo. Alcohol-related motor accidents are the second leading cause of teen death in the United States. According to the United Nations 2008 World Drug Report, which is really outdated, gosh, about 3.9% of the world's population between the age of 15 and 64 abuse marijuana. I think that number's gone way up. If you have experienced or are experiencing problems with alcohol, drugs, or over-the-counter medications, you are not alone. These problems, called substance use disorders, are common. In this section, we will explore substance use disorders, the neurochemistry of substance use and addiction, and the relationship between substance use and other mental health diagnoses. Learning objectives. In this chapter, we are totally going to learn to understand substance use disorder, why addiction occurs, and understand and discuss the impact of substance use on a person. And we're going to define co-occurring, comorbid, and dual diagnoses. We might not go into all that, but you know what? I think I will, because it totally plays in. They both, one permeates the other. One builds on the other, just like your emotional self, your mental self, your spiritual self, and your physical self. They all build one onto the other. One leans into the other. One fades into one flipping streaks out of the other. You can't affect one without affecting the other. They're like waterfalls cascading into one another. We'll start off with alcohol. Alcohol is a drug. It is classed as a depressant, meaning that it slows down vital functions, resulting in slurred speech, unsteady movement, disturbed perception, and an inability to react quickly. As for how it affects the mind, it is best understood as a drug that reduces a person's ability to think rationally and distorts his or her judgment. Although classified as a depressant, the amount of alcohol consumed determines the type of effect. Most people drink for the stimulant effect, such as a beer or a glass of wine taken to loosen up. But if a person consumes more than the body can handle, they then experience alcohol's depressant effect. They start to feel stupid or lose coordination and control. Alcohol overdose causes even more severe depressant effects: inability to feel pain, toxicity where the body vomits the poison, and finally unconsciousness, or worse, coma or death from severe toxic overdose, which is alcohol poisoning, right? These reactions depend on how much is consumed and how quickly. Help can come in many forms, such as prescribed medications. There are 3 FDA-approved medications for the treatment, which is antabuse, naltrexone, and Camprol. These medications are said to assist those who are suffering from alcohol abuse from drinking and significantly curbing the side effects that come with getting treatment. The combined, well, they have that in parentheses, combining medications and behavioral health interventions for alcoholism has done studies to test these theories. What they have found is that these medications can be beneficial if used properly. See, but then that's like giving a druggie drugs. Here, take these with you. You go home and take them all you want. You know what I mean? But yeah, all it's going to do is block your ability to drink, right? It's going to block the uptake inhibitor. It's going to block the uptake inhibitors, and then, or not inhibitors. Gosh, it's going to block the uptake receptors. Thank you. And you know, it's going to spin around your body. You're going to get sick. You're going to get sick because your body has to get rid of it somehow. Because it's not absorbing, your body's not processing it. It's not going to go through your kidney. It's not going to do anything. It's going to sit there and spin in a circle. You're going to make yourself sick if you keep drinking, right? So, what they found in these medications was beneficial, yeah, with varying degrees of results. So it works for some, it doesn't work for all. What works for one is not always good for the gander, right? What's good for the goose ain't always good for the gander. What's good for the gander ain't always good for the goose either. We gotta work with each other here. Oh man, alcohol withdrawal. Alcohol withdrawals occur. I used to know a guy, great mechanic. This guy could literally tear apart 8 transmissions a day and literally have them back together by literally, like, I swear he did it all in one day, but I know it took him a couple days each set. But I mean, like, literally, this guy, literally the smartest guy ever, and the nicest too. Man, he went home and just poisoned himself straight away after he got off work. I wonder if that guy had a bottle in his truck. Like, seriously, you could see his hands just shaking all day as he's building transmissions. Seriously, just shaking. I don't know how he was able to work like that. Like, DTs every morning, all day long until you get off work. I gotta commend the guy for not drinking on the job. Seriously, but man, when I was in my addiction, man, I went through withdrawals like every week to every 2 weeks when I ran out of medication. I got enough medication to probably last me 2 months each time I got medications, but I would run out of them in 2 weeks. Like, seriously, and I would throw my body into withdrawals for at least a week while I ran around trying to get pills. And then, like, off and on through those 2 weeks until I got my next fill. You know what I mean? Like, man, I made my wife live that way. I made my kids live that way, and every other person I came in contact with. It was awful. Dang, 12. I literally cannot believe myself. Like, I was that just, man, I was that gone. I was that shot out. Just gone, man, checked out. And still trying to do it. Man, I wasn't good for nobody. Nobody, not even myself. I was a monster. I literally became a monster. I can blame it on childhood. I can blame it on a narcissistic ex-wife, but it doesn't justify it. I was wrong, right? Man, let's get into withdrawals. Let's get into withdrawals. Alcohol withdrawals occur when prolonged and heavy consumption of the substance is either significantly reduced or stopped suddenly. There's too many A's in the sentence. There can be potentially a life-threatening condition for those who have been drinking over weeks, months, or years. Alcohol withdrawal symptoms can begin as early as several hours to a few days after cessation, or the reduction of use. Sometimes the symptoms persist for weeks. Yeah, I swear it took me like 2 years to feel like a normal human being after being on opiates for 11 years. And benzos and every other drug known to man. I didn't do drugs all the time though. Like, I went through just spurts of like mania, just straight up mania, just climb, and then extreme lows, man. Like, I found I was bipolar as hell, but as I go through and read through my chart and stuff, I find that Libras, especially if you have multiple Libra placements in your chart, you're bipolar as hell, man. Like, we literally, because we're the scales, we aren't balanced. We're striving for it. Anything can set our scales off, literally, and we spend the rest of our life trying to rebalance it. It's crazy. But yeah, if you know where you're going and you know who you are, people can't throw you off no more. Just heads up. Figure your stuff out. Get yourself together. Get it all in one place. I don't care if you throw it in a backpack, but get it together, right? Thank you, Rick and Morty. And go. Quit waiting. Quit wallowing in it. I'm telling you, it does no good. It does no good. You can be pissed off all you want, but use that pissed offness to drive you. But don't be bitter about it, because the energy that you use to propel you can either poison you or it can propel you further. Seriously. Symptoms may include automatic hyperactivity, for example, sweating or pulse rate greater than 100, an increase in hand tremors, handshakes, that, man, alcohol's no joke, nausea and perhaps vomiting, which normally co-occurs, transient visual, tactile, or auditory hallucinations, psychomotor agitation and restlessness, anxiety, and irritability. Some people may experience hallucinations between 12 to 24 hours after they stop drinking. Man, that means that, like, people who are heavy drinkers are, seeing shit that ain't there. Seeing things that aren't there. Come on, CJ. Seeing things that aren't there. Like, could be just going through your regular work day. You know what I mean? Like, it happens. I bet it happens. Literally, when I got sober, I hallucinated for 3 straight days. Seriously. And I was sober as a joke. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen until I started watching Billy and Mandy on the wall that was not there. Like, seriously, I swear. Like, the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy were playing on the wall. An episode I've never seen. Maybe I should have wrote it down. You know what I mean? But think about, like, people are going to work and going about their day after, while withdrawing. You know what I mean? Like, or people are driving around just intoxicating because they don't want to be withdrawing. That's also pretty damn scary, that people could be withdrawing and driving a vehicle and slump out. What could happen? Like, I don't even want to imagine that. That's scary. That could mean, like, serious, like, people getting hurt, and not just yourself, right? That's a scary thought. Think of, man, people travel with their kids. Nobody wants to be responsible for that, even out of just a drunk partying moment. You don't want to wake up in a jail and knowing that. No way. Or finding that out. No way. Oh, crap. I couldn't imagine. I really couldn't imagine. Some people may experience hallucinations between 12 to 24 hours after they stop drinking, and are not the same as the hallucinations associated with delirium tremens, with DTs. Delirium tremens can begin between 48 to 72 hours after drinking has stopped. These symptoms usually peak after 5 days. They may include the following. Wow, they didn't even put ing on the end of that. Disorientation, confusion, hallucination, which is primarily visual type, sweating, tremors, seizures, high blood pressure, racing pulse, irregular heartbeat, and a low-grade fever. Risk factors of delirium tremens, or DTs: acute medical issues, abnormal liver function, history of withdrawal seizures, advancing age. You begin to age beyond your actual age. You're pickling your organs and your skin. Well, your skin is the largest organ of your body, but it's on your body. It breathes. It releases moisture. It takes things in and out, just like plants breathe and exhale carbon monoxide and CO2 and oxygen, through, like, stomatas. If you know the anatomy of a plant, on the bottom of the leaves, they have these little openings that are like holes. They look kind of like that. And they open up. Well, I don't know, I guess. And they open up and they close. It actually looks like a female's anatomy, to be honest. It opens and closes, and what it does is it exhales oxygen. It inhales CO2 and carbon. It inhales carbon, exhales oxygen, to put it plainly. But our skin does the same thing. Like a plant doesn't have to receive water only on its roots. It takes in the nitrogen, the hydrogen, the phosphorus. It takes in the elements in the air, in the very air. Your skin does the very same thing. The very same thing. You know, think about all the stuff that we touch, man, like, I don't know, using solvents and we don't put gloves on, man. Like, our skin is absorbing that. Just heads up, you know what I mean? Just that's real talk, real talk. I've got a separate thing for information on this liver. Liver is actually something I really, really want to touch on. This is something that is critical. God is literally shoving my face in it for the past 6 months. Liver health, liver health, liver health. It's been really firm for like 2 months, if not 3. Liver health, liver health, liver health. Our liver is very special and it keeps coming up for a reason. We're going to get through some stuff that will actually cover the liver quite extensively. We're going to get into the body and health. I don't know, the Father's been leading me into health and showing others how to live a healthy life. Like, I've lived a healthy life for the most part, other than my drug use and being self-destructive. Other than that, I found a pretty healthy balance after addiction between health and working out and, you know, being active, resting, eating right, drinking plenty of water. You know what I mean? Like, these things are critical to our body. If you ask anybody, man, I come from a family that eats a bunch of junk, and I enjoy eating junk just like everybody else. But if we want the blessings, we gotta learn the lessons. That's what it takes. We're not going to get anything for free in this world. God wants us to work for it. And so we came in the way that we did so that we could work hard to go out the way we're going to go out. That's what it's all about. Let's get into this. Man, check this out. How does alcohol affect metabolism? Alcohol is classified as a depressant because it slows down several processes in the body when consumed, including metabolism. So if we're worried about our weight, we should totally kick that out, right? It weakens a person's central nervous system, causes a decline in their intellectual performance, reaction time, and motor coordination. About 20% of the alcohol gets absorbed by the stomach, and the rest in the small intestine upon consumption. The liver breaks it down, but only at a rate of 1 ounce per hour. This rate means drinking more saturates the body because the alcohol in a drink will stay in the blood and tissue until the body can metabolize it. Alcohol consumption affects the digestive system in the following ways. Liver. Heavy drinkers can damage their liver because drinking alcohol inflames the liver and can cause cirrhosis, a fatty liver. Cirrhosis, fatty liver, fibrosis, and alcoholic hepatitis. That was a new one for me. I was like, what the hell is alcoholic hepatitis? Your body becomes hepatic because the alcohol destroys the liver and whatever else over-the-counter medications and stuff you're taking. Like if you take Tylenol on a regular basis, if you take any NSAID over-the-counter on a regular basis, if you take codeine with acetaminophen in it, if you take naproxen, like NSAIDs, anything that has a non-anti-inflammatory Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. That's what it does. If you take any of those work. Man, those make your liver and your kidneys work. Seriously. I used to take Tylenol and everything by the freaking handful trying to manage my back pain and stuff. Like, seriously, I probably did so much damage to my body. I thank God that my body is still functioning. Like, holy crap. Really wish I didn't do that to myself. Now, man, it's amazing how the script flips. Pancreas. Alcoholic drinks cause the pancreas to release toxic substances that can in turn cause pancreatitis. Gastrointestinal tract. Large amounts of alcohol affect the gastrointestinal system. It can inflame and damage the gastrointestinal tract and alter intestinal immune balance. Increasing intake of prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics promotes digestion and boosts and supports digestive health. These bioactive compounds together support healthy bowel movements and overall immune system health and resolve any problems in the digestive system caused by the toxins in alcoholic drinks. So if you're a heavy drinker or you take a bunch of meds and stuff, you should probably think about doing some, taking probiotics, and, if not, find you a really good yogurt and, eat a cup of yogurt every day, at least 3 times a week, right? Because you want to get the good bacteria back in. If you don't know about microbiome, I did a video, man, I will hopefully try to link it in the video. I'm not sure how to do that yet. So please just be patient with me. And it's in my feed, though. If you go through my old videos, it's in there. It's about the microbiome. The microbiome is very critical. I am not going to get into the spiritual functions of it, but just know that microbiome is very, very, very important. Very. I literally cannot stress that enough, how important the microbiome is within your body. Did you know that only about 50% of the cells in your body are actually yours? Half of all the cellular tissue that makes you up belongs to you. The other half belongs to microorganisms that live on or in you. Now, that's all I will say about it. Take care of yourself. Seriously. The effects of alcohol on metabolic rates and fitness. We'll go through the bullet points. So, it affects your physical performance. It affects weight loss. It totally leaves us with fatigue and dehydration. It literally, man. Okay, we'll read the fatigue and dehydration. We all know that it affects our performance and weight loss. So alcohol turns into sugar in the bloodstream, right? When our bodies break down alcohol, it turns it into sugar so it can get rid of it faster. So if your body is burning all this alcohol, sugar, if it's burning sugar or ethanol, then it is it's not burning the fat that you have stored. It's not burning the food that you ate. It's just burning the empty calories you're drinking. That's it. And then we wonder why we have a pooch, and you know what I mean? Like, man, it's what happens. It's the product of it. It is the manifested repercussions of it. Literally, it's like, well, you didn't respect your body, so you ended up with this. Now you got to work harder to get rid. You know what I mean? It's a bad trade. It's a bad trade. We gotta learn what a bad trade is, because we're trading stuff spiritually that we really don't want. In the end, we don't want it. Trust me. Even the demons know not to drink. In the Lesser Keys of Solomon, a demon, I'm not going to name him, he was trying to beguile someone. He was trying to trick someone into, doing something for him. And he used alcohol to do it. But then somebody else was trying, okay, when Solomon was trying to trap this demon, Solomon tricked the demon into drinking the alcohol, and he fell asleep, and Solomon was able to catch him in the vessel. Gosh, that's actually a really, really hard story to tell. There's actually a lot to it. But I'm just saying that this is in the Lesser Keys of Solomon, not even the demons will drink. They know the product of it. They know what it's for. It's no wonder that all who drink of the libations seek to fornicate after drinking. It's no wonder that all who taste of the vine seek to have a physical release afterward. There's a reason why alcohol is called spirits. If you don't know that, it brings on spirits. It changes the person in the driver's seat, and it allows the shadow to drive. I don't know. I'm under the assumption that marijuana kind of does the same thing, because I always feel my ego get out of the way. And then I'm able to just allow the higher self to just flow right to the subconscious and ride out. You know what I mean? But I found that that's even cheating. So I don't smoke pot much anymore. Very rarely. I enjoyed it, but it's time for a change, right? Like I got more important things to do than just worry about getting stoned. way more. But so that's the effects on like weight loss and stuff that, like, man, it really messes you up. Fatigue and dehydration. Exercise and drinking alcohol leaves a person dehydrated. Combining exercise with drinking wine or alcoholic beverages afterward can compound dehydration and leave a person with a worse hangover the following day. So if you work out 3 times a week and you just happen to be, on your way home after, I don't know, man, most people that drink don't work out. That's like, it cuts into the drinking time normally. But for those who do, if you're in that in-between area, doing your workout and drinking at the end of the day, it's not helping you. It's actually doing you more harm. Actually, I don't know. I've always kind of like, no, alcohol, no, rather just smoke a joint. But because of the stigma alcohol carries, you ain't never heard of people getting stoned and beating the hell out of their wife and kids, but you hear about it with alcohol all the time, like daily, multiple times a day, dozens of times a day, right? So like, I don't know, I always argued that, well, why is alcohol legal if that's the case, right? And pot's illegal. Like, there's a severe imbalance here. So, I don't know, I always had the stigma about, like, well, alcohol's bad. Look at what it does. Look at the product of it. You know what I mean? But we'll look at the product of marijuana. We become lazy and complacent. So it's, you know what I mean? Pick one or the other, or just find a balance in between the two. Everything boils down to self-control. Are you in control of yourself? All of yourselves. Your emotional self. Your mental self. Do you control your thoughts? Do you control your emotions? Do you control yourself, your spirit, your soul? You know what I mean? That's what it all boils down to. One permeates into the other. Being dehydrated can make a person feel more tired and sluggish, which affects performance when working out. Aside from dehydration, both alcohol and exercise also deplete glycogen storage. Glycogen is the fuel that the body uses for energy. It's what your muscles use. And once this energy is used up, fatigue will set in, again, affecting performance while working out. Or while doing anything. Everything's a workout. Seriously. Just lifting my arm, grabbing stuff is a technical workout. It's just repetitious. It's not weighted, right? Gastrointestinal health. Oh, shoot. Let's do testosterone for all the dudes out there that love to get trashed. Alcohol also lowers testosterone production, which can predict metabolic syndrome in men. Metabolic syndrome is signaled by high cholesterol, blood sugar levels, blood pressure, and body mass index. Lower testosterone levels also negatively affect the quality of sleep a person gets, which in turn causes imbalances in hormones responsible for energy storage and satiation and hunger. So, I don't know about everybody else, but man, when I drink, I could literally eat the hindquarters off of a flippin' cow, like right on the hoof, man. Like, no problem. I will eat everything in sight before I go to bed. I won't eat necessarily while I'm drinking, but at the end of the night, I will come home and make a 5-course meal, man, for myself. Like, seriously. And I'll eat every bit of it. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know, like we become gluttonous too in it. I don't know, and then, like always, we all seek to fornicate when we drink. Man, I'm at the club, I gotta find somebody to go home with too, and you know what I mean? Like, that's what it's all about. That's, seriously, man, there's more than one spirit that attaches itself. More than one. I'm not gonna name it. You can just go sit down. Gastrointestinal health. Alcohol intake also impedes digestion and nutrition absorption. The toxins in even one drink of alcohol can cause a stressed out stomach and intestines decreasing the digestive secretions, making it difficult for the food you eat to break down and move through the digestive tract, affecting the metabolism and weight loss. Inversely, studies have shown that exercising and being physically active reduces a person's tendency to drink. The dopamine the brain releases when working out makes the person feel good, replacing the feel-good effect many drinkers seek from red wine or other beverages. Studies show working out also relieves stress, which is one of the reasons people consume, but does not cause harm to the body as alcohol does. So, man, we're all looking for a release, man. I spent my life releasing in alcohol and drugs and, debauchery and all that cool stuff, But, yeah, I see that, man, there are healthier ways to get aggression out. But, I want to say all things have a place and a time, but, I don't know. I'm finding some things are just not for me anymore. Yeah. Here, we got some really cool stuff in here. Introducing the human brain. The human brain is the most complex organ in the body. The brain regulates your basic body functions. It enables you to interpret and respond to everything you experience and shapes your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The brain is made up of many parts that all work together as a team. Drugs can alter important brain areas that are necessary for life-sustaining functions and can drive the compulsive drug abuse that marks addiction. Brain areas affected by drug abuse are the cortex, the limbic system, and the brainstem. So the neocortex, the limbic system, and the brainstem are all affected. The brainstem is affected. The brainstem literally controls your heart rate, your breathing, everything. It controls everything that you don't consciously do yourself. Do you have to think about breathing? Do you have to think about swallowing? Do you have to think about, taking a breath? Well, it said breathing. Gosh, thank you. But like, seriously, do you have to think about telling your heart to beat? You have to think about telling your eyes to blink? Do you have to think about, do you have to think about these things? Seriously. No, because your brainstem's handling it all. So we get erratic heart rates, we get palpitations, we get shallow breathing or heavy breathing for no reason. You know what I mean? When we're not exerting the body, and when we're in rest, we're heavy breathing. You know what? It totally throws everything out of whack. We could literally die in that. Seriously. Like, I don't know, man. I like living on the edge too. So I get it, but seriously, there's a better way. And there's a way that you can have everything that you've been feeling was denied to you. Seriously. Like, everything you want, it's out there. Sometimes we got to just put down the joint, put down the beer, whatever, man, and go get it. Sometimes it takes work. Actually, every time it does. But the brainstem controls functions critical to life, such as heart rate, breathing, and sleeping. Ooh, and sleeping. Dang, it regulates sleep, too. The limbic system links together a number of brain structures that control and regulate our ability to feel pleasure. Feeling pleasure motivates us to repeat behaviors or actions that are critical to our existence. In addition, the limbic system is responsible for our perception of other emotions, both positive and negative, which explains the mood-altering properties of many drugs. The limbic system is right by the pineal gland. It's a part of the, I want to say it's a part of the monkey mind, but I think the limbic system's actually a part of the reptilian. It is a part of the reptilian brain system. Because if you don't know, our brain is actually like 4 brains in one. We have the brainstem, we have the neocortex, which is a whole different... Each part was evolved in a certain species. Like, there's the reptilian part of the brain, there's the monkey brain, there's the human part of the brain. You know what I mean? Like, as life evolved from the beginning of creation, so too did consciousness in these beings, in these animals. You see how animals, man, they're capable of affection and all kinds of stuff. They're even capable of learning. Just because they don't have the ability to speak our language doesn't mean they are not super intelligent. It just means that they are just a step removed. They don't have conceptual thought. But I'm sure that they conceive on their own level, right? They just don't conceive on a human level. So, animals are very, very special. Seriously. And we owe everything that we are to them. We really do. Oh, man, I'd have to explain to you how the spirit evolves here on Earth. And there's actually too much to go over. We're already at 45 minutes. The cerebral cortex is divided into areas that control specific functions. Different areas process information from our senses, enabling us to see, feel, hear, and taste. The front part of the cortex, from the frontal cortex or forebrain, is the thinking center of the brain, which is the neocortex right here. That's why when they give you a lobotomy, it stops all your motor functions. You're catatonic at that point. The front part of the cortex, the frontal cortex or forebrain, is the thinking center of the brain. It powers our ability to think, plan, solve problems, and make decisions. How does the brain communicate? The brain is a communication center consisting of billions of neurons. It's actually trillions of neurons. Or nerve cells. Networks of neurons coordinate and regulate everything we feel, think, and do. It's, people communicate one to the other, right? That's it, one to the other. Sound travel, one to the other. Well, neurotransmitters transmit the same thing. One sends a chemical this way, one receives the chemical here, and the connection is made through the synapse. 444! Woo! So, to send a message, a brain cell releases a chemical neurotransmitter The chemicals, the hormones are the neurotransmitters. If we're flooding our brain with all kinds of substances, those neurotransmitters are severely off. But which, hey, you know what, man? It leads to some really amazing insights later on down the road. So I can't knock people into drug use, man. Like, seriously, it leads to good things if we can live through it. If we survive it, ooh, man, an ex-addict is unstoppable if they can just stay away from it, right? To send a message, a brain cell releases a chemical neurotransmitter into the space separating two cells called the synapse. The neurotransmitter crosses the synapse and attaches to proteins or receptors on the receiving brain cell. This causes changes in the receiving brain cell and the message is delivered. The change is the message. Pretty cool, huh? The chemical is the message. The receptor just receives the message, right? I don't know, man. Our bodies are chemical powerhouses. They create every substance known to man in the body. Every substance out here known to mankind, your body creates within you. Everything that we search for to satiate ourselves, our body creates it on its own. It's about tapping into it. Through love. Through love. Get high on love, man. That's what's up. Get high on love. Seriously. It is possible. 46. You're just jacking me up with numbers today again, aren't you? So, neurotransmitters have been studied quite a bit in relation to psychology and human behavior. What we have found is that several neurotransmitters play a role in the way we behave, learn, and the way we feel and sleep. The following are those neurotransmitters which play a significant role in our mental health. Acetylcholine, Acetylcholine, acetylcholine. Involved in voluntary movement, learning, memory, and sleep. So it's involved in voluntary movement. So every time you go to move your hand, or I'm gonna wink, you know what I mean? Like that is acetylcholine being transferred between two brain cells and off of a synapse, or creating a synapse, and that's what, you know, tells my eye to actually do that, and makes my cheek muscles, you know, moves my face muscles. It tells which muscles to move at that time in order to make that happen, right? Oh no, I don't like the winking eye, because it drives me nuts, the things that are in the Bible that, you know, speak about the winking eye and stuff. So I try to stay away from that, but like I was just making a point. So too much acetylcholine is associated with depression. And too little is associated in the hippocampus can be associated with dementia. So acetylcholine, the lack of acetylcholine, is associated with the onset of, it's dementia, but there's also another word for it. It'll come to me later. It's got too much going on in the brain. Dopamine. Dopamine correlated with movement, attention, and learning. This is the pleasure neurotransmitter, right? Too much dopamine has been associated with schizophrenia. And too little is associated with some forms of depression, as well as the muscular rigidity and tremors found in Parkinson's disease. They are making correlations between really nasty diseases that have come about over the course of time in modern history with the commercialization of these substances. And they've grown more prevalent as everything has grown. Didn't you notice, right? Norepinephrine. God, Everything's always such a mouthful. Associated with eating and alertness. So, too little norepinephrine, gosh, that one's so hard to say, has been associated with depression, while an excess has been associated with schizophrenia. Too much norepinephrine, and we are hallucinating. And then this one is just regular epinephrine, which is adrenaline, right? So involved in energy and glucose and metabolism. Too little epinephrine has been associated with depression, like lethargic. You know what I mean? Like, so they, and then, okay, well, we're going to get into them. So then there is serotonin. Serotonin plays a role in mood, sleep, appetite, and impulsive and aggressive behavior. Too little serotonin is associated with depression and some anxiety disorders, especially obsessive compulsive disorder, which I have suffered from OCD my entire life, but I think I use it in my mania as a outlet, actually. So, I don't know, cleanliness is next to godliness, I guess, but it's bad when it becomes controlling. You can't control things in life. Can't even control ourselves half the time. That's the only thing we can't learn to control is ourselves. We can't control people. We can't control others around us. We can't tell others what to do. The best we can do is ask and hope that they have the respect to oblige. That's it. That's it. That's really it. GABA. GABA refers to the gamma aminobutyric acid. Aminobutyric acid inhibits excitation and anxiety. You guys may have heard of gabapentin. That one's a real common one nowadays. Even in abuse, really. Like, I don't know why people would want to abuse gabapentin. Seriously, it never did anything for me. But I did notice that if I didn't think about my pain, if I didn't think about my back hurting, if I could just get something to take my attention and to work, do something, if I didn't think about it, it wasn't there. They developed gabapentin as a way from, all the guys coming home from war in World War II during Vietnam, they had come up with gabapentin to help with the vets coming home with missing limbs. It was made for phantom limb disorder. Phantom limb disorder is like my leg's blown off, but my leg hurts. It's not there, but my leg still hurts. That's phantom limb pain. So it works on the GABA. GABA refers to the pain highway in the brain. The way that pain is received and travels through the brain. And it's received by the receptors and synapses and stuff. It's the way that your mind reads it. And it just kind of, it blocks that receptor from even reading that you have pain going on. It doesn't work in the way that we hope it does, with just getting rid of all of our pain. But if we got rid of all of our pain, we would be emotionless. We would be a shill of a person. Trust me, when I was on opiates and benzos, I didn't feel a thing. And nor did I feel any love for anybody. Not that it was real. I think it was just a programmed response. I love you. Sometimes I think it still is, right? Like, I'm learning to love. I don't think I love all the way. I don't even think I know what love is, but I'm willing to admit I don't know. So I can be open enough to try and learn something new about it, because apparently what I've known about it nobody wanted, you know what I mean? So like, apparently there's, I don't know, man. I don't know, there's something there. I don't know, there's something there though. I have to ponder on that. Endorphins. Oh, well, here, hold on. So, too little GABA is associated with anxiety and anxiety disorders. Some anxiety medications increase the GABA at the pain receptor site. So some I want to say MAOIs, SSRIs, SROIs, the serotonin uptake inhibitors. Those comboed with a mood stabilizer, which, those normally are prescribed to totally combat anxiety and depression. Looks like gabapentin would be a good thing to actually co-scribe with it. Gosh, flying ants. Man, they had to give ants wings. At least, man, like as if they weren't bad enough crawling up your leg, right? Endorphins. Endorphins are involved in pain relief and feeling of pleasure and contentedness. Please note that these associations are merely correlations and do not necessarily demonstrate any cause and effect relationships. Wow. Oh, it's not demonstrating the cause and effect of the relationship of the, dopamine and neurotransmitters. They're just saying that this is what we believe to be taking place based on the evidence we have collected. That's what they're trying to say, and it's like a, gosh, man, it's like a waiver. Bunch of jerks, man. Wrote a waiver under a bunch of technical stuff that they, give us the impression that it's fact, but nothing's fact in this world. There's one objective truth, and then there are 8.4 billion versions of subjective truth of it. That's it. That's it. So, we don't know what other variables may be affecting both the neurotransmitters and the mental illness. And we don't know if the change in the neurotransmitter causes the illness or the illness causes the change in the neurotransmitter. It's a two-way street. They both affect each other. Everything, if you can communicate this way, you can communicate this way too. That means there is a highway this way, there has to be a way back. Everything communicates two ways. Your soul and your physical body communicate both ways. What is up here reflects down here onto the pond. What is down here on the pond reflects back up to here. I have a video on that in my earlier work, actually, probably a year ago, if you look back in the vids. Yeah. Probably not quite a year ago. Probably like 6 months ago, maybe. Time flies. I don't even know what I had for breakfast yesterday. All I know is what God tells me to know in the moment. That's it. That is seriously it. I feel like I'm not intelligent. What are you talking about? All I know is what God tells me to say. That's it. I don't think about anything I'm going to say prior to saying it. I don't rehearse nothing. How do drugs affect the brain? This is going to be a good one. Okay. All right. How do drugs work in the brain? Drugs are chemicals. They work in the brain by tapping into the brain's communication system and interfering with the way nerve cells normally send, receive, and process information. Some drugs, such as marijuana and heroin, can lead to abnormal messages being transmitted through the network. Other drugs, such as amphetamines or cocaine, can cause the nerve cells to release abnormally large amounts of natural neurotransmitters or prevent the normal recycling of these brain chemicals, ultimately disrupting communication, so the brain becomes flooded at that point. So with marijuana and heroin and depressants, the brain becomes, lacked. It doesn't have enough in there, right? That's what it's saying, saying that causes... Some drugs, such as marijuana and heroin, can lead to abnormal messages. So it's just like misfires. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about misfired messages. Like, we're sending this message. We don't know why. We didn't get a command for this, but we're doing it. Here, just send it. I don't know. Just send it. Get it out of here. That's the kind of stuff that like marijuana and heroin are, doing in the brain. And that sounds about right with my other research. And amphetamines and cocaine accelerants are flooding the brain with neurotransmitters, with dopamine and endorphins and serotonin and, man, all the good stuff, right? But then I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff. But like, what are the effects of those chemicals sitting in the brain for long periods of time? Like when we get high, we go on binges when we go on accelerants. When we get on accelerants, our body no, we don't want to stop. We want to keep going. Because, God, if I stop, I'm going to feel all this. And, man, I've been up for a week, so, you know what I mean? Like, man, there's people that go months without sleeping. It's like, how do you do that? Like, man, I would have gone crazy a long time ago. Like, man, I have a 2-day limit, man. No. I refuse to do drugs anymore, though. But, I mean, like, sorry. I smelled smoke. I'm like, what's that smoke about? Candle went out. Yeah, man, like what are the effects of these chemicals sitting in the brain and in the body? Are they caustic? Do they erode the brain after a while? Like what are the effects of these chemicals sitting in the brain for long periods of time? Like I know people that would go on bingers for weeks at a time. I know people that did drugs for years off and on, you know what I mean? Like every day of their life, they couldn't wake up without hitting a loke, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? Like these chemicals have to be eroding the brain. Have you ever met somebody who did meth for years on end and then got sober? It's like they're still doing it. Seriously, like the effects are permanent. They erode the brain, man. They totally just like, yep, that's how we function now. Oh, man. So, amphetamines or cocaine cause the nerve cells to release abnormally large amounts of natural neurotransmitters to prevent the normal recycling. Or, if they don't overproduce, they prevent the recycling of it, so it just sits there. Of these brain chemicals, ultimately disrupting communication channels. So it just throws everything off completely. I wonder if these chemicals sitting in the brain for too long just totally become caustic and erode the synapses and destroy things, destroy brain cells at that point. Okay. How do drugs work in the brain to produce pleasure? Most drugs of abuse directly or indirectly target the brain's reward system by flooding the circuit with dopamine. Dopamine regulates movement, emotion, cognition, motivation, and feelings of pleasure. The overstimulation of this system, which rewards our natural behaviors, produces the euphoric effects sought by people who abuse drugs and teaches them to repeat the behavior. So not only we are affecting and effecting our pleasure centers of our brain. So when we light up that thing bright red, right? When we light up the pleasure center of our brain by doing drugs and other things, and then, you know what I mean? While we're doing drugs, we're, of course, experiencing life still. So we are doing things and we are getting an enormous high out of doing those things. You know what I mean? Because everything's better when you're high because you've already got a flood of all these neurochemicals, neurotransmitters in your brain. You know what I mean? You're flooded already. And then you're going to go and do your favorite thing. When you get sober, your favorite things to do are garbage. You're like, nothing brings me pleasure anymore. I'm just not happy. No wonder why you're depressed after you get off drugs. Your brain literally doesn't produce these chemicals the way they should anymore. You don't get the reward from doing the things you love anymore. You're not happy with it. And it's the only things that you enjoy. It's like, well, I can't think of anything else I enjoy in this world. I have to find new things, I guess. You know what I mean? I guess that's a great way to grow, but man, like, we don't understand, like, when we seek to hide and run from things, we don't understand the long-term damage that we do forward from that point. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot. Like, really. by flooding the reward circuit. By flooding the circuit with dopamine. Okay, most drugs of abuse directly or indirectly target the brain's reward system by flooding the circuit with dopamine. Dopamine regulates movement, emotion, cognition, motivation, feelings of pleasure. The overstimulation of the system, which rewards our natural behaviors, produces the euphoric effect sought by people who abuse drugs and teaches them to repeat the behavior. This is how you got here. Do it again. This is how you got to feeling this reward. This is how you got to the reward, so do it again. I need it again. This is where addiction comes in, actually. Keep doing it because I like it, right? How does stimulation of the brain's pleasure circuit teach us to keep taking drugs? Our brains are wired to ensure that we will repeat life-sustaining activities by associating those activities with pleasure or reward. Whenever this reward circuit is activated, the brain notes that something important is happening that needs to be remembered, creating a superhighway in your brain, and teaches us to do it again and again without thinking about it, because drugs of abuse stimulate the same circuit. We learn to abuse drugs in the same way. Why are drugs more addictive than natural rewards? When some drugs of abuse are taken, they can release 2 to 10 times the amount of dopamine than that natural rewards do. 2 to 10 times more. Wow. In some cases, this occurs almost immediately, as when drugs are smoked or injected, and the effects can last much longer than those produced by natural rewards. Thus, the resulting effects of such a powerful reward strongly motivates people to take drugs again and again. What happens to your brain if you keep taking drugs? I think we're going to get into some stuff I just talked about. Just as we turn down the volume on a radio that is too loud, the brain adjusts to the overwhelming surges in dopamine and other neurotransmitters by producing less dopamine or by reducing the number of receptors that can receive signals. As a result, dopamine's impact on the reward circuit of a drug abuser's brain can become abnormally low, and the ability to experience any pleasure is reduced. This is why the abuser eventually feels flat, lifeless, and depressed, and is unable to enjoy things that previously brought them pleasure. Now they need to take drugs to try and bring their dopamine function back up to normal. And they must take larger amounts of the drug than they first did to create the dopamine high and an effect known as tolerance. An effect known as tolerance. Ooh. Yeah, that's an hour. I think we're going to cut it here and I'll totally continue tomorrow. Thank you guys. I totally appreciate you being here. If you made it through the end, wow, thank you. I totally appreciate that. We'll finish this up. This is actually there's still like 4 pages. But, man, there's really a lot in here, and the effects that everything has on the body and the mind and the consciousness in that mind and body. The effects are permanent. What we do here affects us there, and what we do there affects us here. But we have to be conscious of what's happening there. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more going on here and here and here and there. You know, seriously than what we see. Seriously, way more than we know, way more than we see, and way more than we give God credit for. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. Seriously. Just thank you. This totally, I don't know, this makes my dreams come true in some weird way. I don't know. I'm a communicator. I just bring knowledge to the table. And take it, use it. Better your life and better that around you. That's all I ask, man. Pay it forward. Use it to benefit the world. But yeah, shoot. Thank you guys, and may God bless you all, and may the resurrected Christ be alive in you today. Amen. Good night, guys.